The council chamber was vast, stretching as high as the tallest trees on Earth and as wide as the cities that sprawled across countless alien worlds. Light from distant stars shone through enormous crystal windows, painting the room with a kaleidoscope of colors. Leaders from dozens of civilizations floated, walked or hovered in their personal gravity fields, each representing planets with unique cultures, technologies, and ambitions. At the head of the chamber sat the Council Master, a silver-scaled alien whose eyes reflected centuries of knowledge. "Order!" the Council Master's voice echoed, calm yet commanding. "Let this meeting begin. We are here to discuss the prophecy concerning the species known as humans." A murmur swept through the chamber. The word humans seemed almost like a joke to most present. They were small, fragile beings from a blue planet orbiting an ordinary star. Most of the council considered humans irrelevant, a species too young to matter in galactic affairs. Valira, an ambassador from the planet Talvori, rose from her seat. Her long green fingers rested lightly on the podium. Her voice was clear and steady. "Masters of the council, I must insist that we take this warning seriously. The humans are not what they seem. They are adaptable, clever, and capable of astonishing feats when faced with danger." The chamber erupted in laughter. Representatives from the high-tech militaristic world snickered openly. Adaptable? One of them, a crystalline being named Kralo from the planet Shur, scoffed. "They can barely reach space, and you speak of them as a threat? This is absurd." Another voice chimed in, low and mechanical. It came from the fleet command of Zorath, a planet known for its massive war machines. "Even if these humans are clever, they lack strength. They lack speed. They have no armor, no shields, no proper weapons. Their homeworld could be flattened in a day. What makes you believe they are a danger?" Valira's eyes narrowed. She had expected doubt, even ridicule, yet she remained calm, knowing her words carried a weight others had ignored. "Strength alone does not define a species' potential. I have observed humans indirectly through probes and recordings. They solve problems in ways we cannot predict. They cooperate in large numbers without rigid hierarchies. They invent, improvise, and adapt at rates far beyond any other species we have encountered. To ignore them is to gamble with our own safety." A murmur of disbelief moved through the chamber. "Nonsense," Kralo said, shaking his crystalline head. "They are a young species. They have survived wars among themselves for centuries, yes, but they have not ventured far beyond their system. They are weak." Valira shook her head slightly, a gesture almost human in its subtlety. "That is exactly what makes them dangerous. Weakness makes them clever. Desperation makes them innovative. And we have no idea what they are capable of when their survival is threatened." For a moment, silence fell. The council considered her words, but their pride was strong. Most of the leaders could not imagine that such a small, seemingly primitive species could pose a real challenge to their advanced civilizations. They had seen thousands of species rise and fall, and humans did not fit the profile of a galaxy-changing force. The Council Master's silver eyes glimmered as he observed the debate. "Valira speaks with passion, but passion alone does not decide policy. We must base our decisions on evidence, not fear. What proof do you offer that humans are exceptional?" Valira stepped closer to the center of the chamber. She summoned holographic images of Earth, its cities, oceans, and forests, spinning slowly in the air. Small clips of humans building, learning, and cooperating appeared in bursts of light. Humans exploring space in tiny craft, constructing massive structures, and surviving natural disasters flickered across the projection. "Look at their ingenuity," she said softly. "They survive harsh environments on their planet. They send vessels into space using technology that is, for them, primitive but effective. They communicate and collaborate across vast distances with ease. And they learn quickly. Every mistake becomes a lesson. Every failure fuels their growth. This is not a species to underestimate." Kralo's crystalline frame rattled, not in agreement but in annoyance. "Still, they are fragile. They are slow. You speak as though these humans are unstoppable warriors. They are nothing but flesh, and flesh breaks." Valira smiled faintly, though her green eyes were sharp. "Perhaps. But history is full of examples where the small and the weak outwitted the strong. Their weapons may be primitive, but their minds are sharp. And intelligence, patience, and creativity are more dangerous than brute force when they are combined. If we attack them or dismiss them, we may find ourselves outmaneuvered at every step. I ask the Council to consider, not the present moment, but the potential." A new voice rang out from the back of the chamber. It was low and deep, resonant. "You speak well, Talvori. But fear does not rule this council. We act on strategy and evidence. Humans have yet to display any real threat to us. Until they do, we cannot allow ourselves to be distracted by speculation." Valira's jaw tightened. She had expected resistance, but this was more than she had anticipated. She pressed on. "Then let us observe them more closely before we make a decision. Let us send envoys, scouts, or probes, but let us not act with arrogance. To ignore a warning is to invite disaster. I am not asking for war or aggression. I am asking for prudence. Watch them, study them, and prepare should we discover that they are more than they appear." The council members debated for hours, voices rising and falling like tides. Some began to wonder if Valira's caution had merit. Others clung stubbornly to their pride. They could not imagine that a species so small could change the balance of power across the stars. Finally, the council master spoke, his tone even but final. "The council has heard all arguments. We will not take immediate action. Humans are noted, but no measures will be implemented. Observation may continue, but we will not prepare for conflict. Let this be recorded. Caution has been advised, but the decision rests with us." A wave of relief washed through the chamber. Kralo smiled, confident that nothing could harm them. Most others shared his sentiment, proud of their wisdom and dismissive of what they called an overcautious alien. Valira, however, felt a chill in her heart. She knew the council had made a mistake. She had seen the signs, the cleverness, the adaptability, the unity of humans. Ignoring the warning would come at a cost, she was certain. Meanwhile, far across space, humans went about their daily lives unaware of the council's debate. On Earth, a young engineer named Mira adjusted the solar panels on a research station orbiting Mars. In the bustling cities, students tested new inventions, farmers monitored crops with automated drones, and scientists discussed new propulsion methods that could take humanity further into space. Humans had many weaknesses, yes. They lacked advanced shields and fleets capable of instant destruction. They were fragile in comparison to some alien species, yet they had resilience, creativity, and a drive to survive and improve. These qualities were invisible to the council but would soon become undeniable. That night, Earth's skies were filled with shimmering stars, silent witnesses to the events unfolding in the council chamber. No one on Earth knew that decisions made in a distant hall of light and crystal could soon threaten, or challenge, the very civilizations that looked down upon them. Valira left the council chamber quietly, her mind racing. She knew she could not force the council to act. She could only watch, wait, and hope that humans would reveal themselves slowly enough to avoid immediate disaster, or quickly enough to survive what was coming. As she looked back at the stars, a quiet thought echoed in her mind. They have been underestimated. That is their strength. And somewhere on a distant blue world, humans slept, unaware that the galaxy was taking notice. Small, fragile, and seemingly insignificant, they were about to demonstrate the power that comes from ingenuity, cooperation, and the refusal to surrender to fate. The council had ignored the warning, but the stars were watching, and the universe was about to learn that humans were not to be dismissed. The edge of the solar system was quiet. Space stretched endlessly, filled with stars that twinkled like distant promises. Among them, a small group of human colonies orbited the outer planets. Research stations, mining stations, and habitats formed a delicate web, connected by thin threads of communication. Humans were explorers by nature. They worked tirelessly to understand, to build, and to survive in a space that was harsh, cold, and often unforgiving. In the dark void beyond the outermost colonies, alien ships appeared. Sleek, metallic, and advanced beyond human imagination, they glided silently toward the blue planet. Their technology was far superior. Weapons that could destroy cities with a single strike, shields that could withstand entire fleets, and engines that moved faster than any human craft. The aliens' confidence was absolute. They expected humans to flee, to surrender, to crumble at the first sign of power. They were wrong. Commander Elias Noor, stationed at the Helios research station orbiting Jupiter, noticed the anomaly first. The sensors picked up signals unlike anything humanity had encountered. "What is it?" asked Lieutenant Zara Min, her eyes fixed on the glowing screen. "Unknown," Elias replied, frowning. "But it's massive and it's approaching fast. All stations, prepare for possible contact. The humans were calm, not out of ignorance, but because they had trained for uncertainty. They did not have advanced weapons, but they had ingenuity, determination, and the ability to improvise under pressure. The first alien scout ship appeared just outside Saturn's orbit. Its hull was a dark, reflective metal that absorbed light, making it appear as a shadow moving through the stars. Humans could only observe, unable to match the alien technology directly. Evasive maneuvers, Elias ordered. Keep the colony safe, focus on observation. We need to learn about them before they learn about us. The humans worked in perfect coordination. Engineers rerouted power to shields. Scientists calculated potential weaknesses in alien sensors, and communication officers relayed instructions across hundreds of kilometers of space. Despite their small numbers, humans moved as one, a single mind with many hands. The aliens attempted to communicate first. Strange symbols and sounds reached the human stations, broadcast across frequencies humans could barely decode. The humans listened carefully, recognizing patterns and repetitions. They could not understand the language, but they understood intent. These visitors expected obedience. They expected humans to submit. They were wrong. Dr. Mira Han, the young engineer from the Mars Research Station, suggested an experiment. If we can mimic their signals, we might confuse them long enough to understand their system, she said. Her colleagues nodded, impressed by her quick thinking. Within hours, the humans managed to send back a series of signals that were not hostile but confusing. Alien sensors flickered and the invaders hesitated. It was the first sign that humans were clever, and it was only the beginning. Meanwhile, alien scouts moved closer to other human colonies. They expected to find defenseless settlements. Instead, they encountered automated defenses built with scrap materials and ingenuity. Human engineers had learned to adapt old spacecraft for new purposes. Mining drones were converted into surveillance drones. Communication arrays were transformed into early warning systems. Even small colonies could coordinate defenses across thousands of kilometers of space. The aliens were surprised. Every move they made was countered by human ingenuity. They attempted direct attacks, firing energy beams at research stations, expecting instant destruction. But humans had anticipated some of these attacks. They had rerouted power, reinforced critical systems, and evacuated personnel to safe zones. Every strike the aliens thought would destroy human infrastructure, instead caused minor inconvenience. Commander Elias realized that humans had no choice but to fight cleverness with cleverness. He issued orders to deploy mobile craft, small but fast. They were not strong enough to match alien firepower, but they were flexible, unpredictable, and capable of improvisation. In the first confrontation, a squadron of human craft engaged alien scouts near Saturn. The humans could not outgun the aliens, so they used space itself as a weapon. They used asteroid fields, planetary shadows, and orbital debris to their advantage. Alien ships collided with space rocks they could not anticipate. Sensors were disrupted by human tactics that seemed random, yet were carefully calculated. The aliens were baffled. "These humans," one officer said in disbelief, "they are weak, yet they move with precision. They adapt instantly. This is unusual." The humans' victory was not complete, but it was significant. Small stations remained intact. Human ingenuity had bought them time and confidence. They celebrated quietly, not with arrogance, but with relief. They understood the dangers, yet they also understood their strengths. Back in the alien fleet, debates raged. Some officers argued for retreat, claiming humans were unpredictable and dangerous. Others insisted that they were still weak, just clever enough to avoid immediate defeat. Yet pride prevented many from acknowledging that humans could be more than a nuisance. Valira, observing the scouts remotely from Talvori, felt a surge of satisfaction. She had warned the council. She had spoken of human adaptability. And now in a small corner of the galaxy, humans were proving her right. Meanwhile, humans continued to learn. Every alien maneuver was recorded, analyzed, and used to improve defenses. Engineers like Mira Han designed new systems overnight. combining limited human technology with improvisation, inspired by the aliens themselves. What the invaders considered a minor engagement became a battlefield of minds. By the time the alien fleet attempted a second approach, humans had transformed their defenses. Small craft moved in coordinated patterns, forcing aliens to miscalculate. Communications were encrypted in ways the aliens could not decipher. Even minor stations previously vulnerable now had escape protocols and decoy systems. Alien pride faltered. They realized they had underestimated humans. Every assumption they made about weakness, obedience, and simplicity was challenged by human creativity and resilience. The humans, for their part, were unaware of the larger consequences. To them, this was survival, problem-solving, and teamwork. Commander Elias briefed his team daily. "We are not strong in the traditional sense," he said, "but we are clever, and we do not give up. That is our power. We must continue to learn, adapt, and protect our colonies." Alien frustration grew. Their strikes became reckless, their formations disordered. They could not understand how such a small species could challenge them at every turn. And they did not see the one thing humans had in abundance: unity. Across the colonies, humans shared information instantly, coordinated plans, and trusted each other. Differences of culture, opinion, or origin did not matter. When faced with a threat, humans acted as one, and in space, unity often outweighed individual strength. Valera communicated secretly with some of the aliens who had begun to doubt the Council. "Observe them closely," she advised. "Do not act in pride. These humans are not like any other species. Watch what they do, and perhaps you will understand why caution is necessary." For the humans, the future was uncertain. They faced an enemy far stronger in technology and numbers. Yet they were not afraid. They had each other, intelligence, and ingenuity. And in a galaxy that prized power above all, they had qualities no weapon could measure: adaptability, creativity, and relentless determination. As the alien fleet regrouped for another strike, a young human engineer suggested a bold idea. "What if we turn their own sensors against them? We could use reflections, interference, and patterns they cannot anticipate." Commander Elias considered this, realizing that humans had begun to fight not just for survival but to understand, to learn, and to innovate. The coming battle would test their courage, intelligence, and unity. It was the first real contact between humans and the Council's forces, and neither side would be the same again. Far away, the Council's chamber remained silent. Most leaders still doubted Valera's warning. They could not see the events unfolding in human space. But in reality, humans were already proving themselves, quietly and effectively, against enemies who had thought them weak. Elias and his team watched the stars, waiting for the next alien movement. Humans did not have overwhelming firepower, but they had something far more important: a mind that would never accept defeat, a will that would never break, and a creativity that no one could fully predict. And in that quiet, vast space, humans were already beginning to leave their mark on the galaxy. The aliens had arrived expecting submission. Instead, they found ingenuity, courage, and an unexpected challenge. The first contact had begun, and humanity, small and underestimated, was ready. Space was no longer quiet. The outer colonies buzzed with activity, lights flashing across stations, shuttles darting between satellites, and humans coordinating with a precision that belied their numbers. The alien scouts had returned, stronger and more organized than before, determined to overpower what they still considered a primitive species. Commander Elias Noor stood at the Helios research station, his eyes scanning multiple screens. The incoming fleet was larger this time, their formation tight and disciplined. "They've learned from their first encounter," he said. "This is going to be harder." Lieutenant Zara Min leaned over the console. "But so have we. Every attack they tried, we studied it. Every weakness we saw, we adapted. They don't know what's coming next." Humans had spent weeks preparing. The first contact had taught them that alien technology, though advanced, had patterns. Sensors could be tricked, Energy weapons could be avoided with timing and movement, and alien communications could be intercepted for clues. Every station, shuttle, and craft had been reinforced, not with sheer strength, but with clever modifications. Mining drones were now part of early warning systems. Research satellites doubled as decoy targets. Even small cargo ships were turned into mobile observation posts, moving unpredictably across the system. When the alien fleet entered the outer colony's territory, they were met not with panic but with organized resistance. Human craft swarmed, not to destroy but to confuse and delay. They used asteroid belts, moon craters, and planetary shadows to their advantage. Aliens fired powerful beams, yet many strikes hit empty space or harmless debris. "This is impossible," muttered one alien officer. "We have never faced such adaptation. They are weak, yet stronger than anything we expected." The human strategy was simple: survival through ingenuity. They did not match alien firepower, but they used space itself as a weapon. Satellites created false sensor readings, making alien targeting systems malfunction. Automated drones moved in unpredictable paths, forcing the invaders to waste energy on empty coordinates. Humans had learned to turn disadvantages into advantages, and every encounter left them smarter, faster, and more coordinated. On Mars, Dr. Mirahan and her team worked around the clock. "If we can predict their next move," she explained, "we can force them into patterns where we have control." Her eyes gleamed as she manipulated holographic models, plotting trajectories and countermeasures. Engineers and pilots from multiple colonies contributed ideas, and in hours, what seemed impossible became practical. Commander Elias addressed his team. "Remember, they are stronger in weapons and numbers, but we have something they do not: creativity, flexibility, and unity. They expect predictable responses. Let's be unpredictable. Let's make them adapt to us." The battle shifted from isolated attacks to coordinated campaigns. Alien ships advanced together, firing in unison, expecting humans to scatter or surrender. But humans anticipated these formations. Small craft slipped between beams, while decoys led aliens into natural hazards. A fleet of cargo vessels created a moving maze of reflections and signals, confusing alien targeting systems. Alien frustration grew. Some ships collided with debris they had failed to detect. Sensors misread harmless rocks as human craft. Communications broke down as human interference scrambled their signals. Pride and arrogance began to falter in the face of an unexpected opponent. In the council chamber far away, whispers spread. Some leaders began to doubt their previous assumptions. Valera, still observing quietly, could see the results of her warnings manifesting. The humans were not just surviving. They were winning in ways the council had never imagined. "Observe their coordination," she said to a fellow diplomat. "Notice how quickly they adapt, how they use every resource at their disposal. This is not a species to dismiss. Every advantage we think we hold can be turned against us." Back in human space, a breakthrough occurred. By combining intercepted alien signals with their own modifications, humans managed to create a feedback system that temporarily disabled some alien sensors. This allowed human craft to strike without being detected, a tactic that seemed almost impossible given the technological gap. Lieutenant Min watched the screens astonished. "They won't expect this. They have no idea what we are capable of now." The aliens did not yet understand. They assumed humans were lucky, that coincidence explained their successes. But luck was only part of the story. Humans had learned to read patterns, to predict movement, and to act collectively with a speed that no alien officer had anticipated. Every mistake by the invaders became an opportunity. Every assumption turned into a trap. One alien admiral barked orders, desperate to regain control. "Concentrate fire on the outer colonies. Destroy them before they learn more. Do not let them adapt further." But humans had anticipated such aggression. Using planetary orbits, automated decoys, and clever maneuvering, they avoided destruction while observing every alien tactic. Data flowed in real time, analyzed by engineers and commanders, who suggested improvements in coordinated strikes across vast distances. A bold human maneuver turned the tide in one engagement. Using a combination of cargo ships and mining drones, they created a false formation that mimicked a larger fleet. Alien ships targeted it with their most powerful weapons, only to find themselves trapped in a gravity field near Saturn's moons. Some ships were damaged. Others retreated in confusion. Humans had won not by strength, but by ingenuity. This species, it's impossible, an alien officer whispered in disbelief. They should be easy prey. They should not survive. Humans, however, were not celebrating. Every victory came with understanding and preparation for the next challenge. Commander Elias reminded his team, "This is not the end. Every engagement teaches us more. Stay alert, stay clever, and remember, we fight not with hatred but with intelligence and unity." Across human colonies, engineers and pilots worked tirelessly, creating new ways to use limited resources. An abandoned satellite became a sensor hub. Old space probes were converted into automated defense drones. Even civilian ships were incorporated into tactical plans. The humans' greatest strength was their ability to improvise under pressure. Alien morale began to crack. Their formations became disorganized, communications confused. Pride had blinded them, but now frustration and fear began to take root. They had assumed humans would flee or surrender, but humans had neither fear nor doubt. Their unity and ingenuity frustrated every calculation the invaders made. Meanwhile, Valera monitored the events with a mixture of relief and concern. "They are stronger than we imagined," she told herself. "Not because of weapons, but because they think differently. Their minds are their greatest strength. I only hope the Council finally understands the danger before it is too late." Despite their victories, humans knew the battle was far from over. The alien fleet was still larger, more powerful, and capable of devastation. Every engagement taught them lessons, but it also revealed the relentless determination of the invaders. Humans relied on speed, stealth, and intelligence, while aliens relied on force, numbers, and technology. The conflict was a test of adaptability versus predictability, and humans were proving themselves capable beyond expectation. In the middle of a critical operation, Commander Elias paused to watch the stars. "They think they are superior," he said quietly to Lieutenant Min, "but they don't understand that what makes us strong is not armor or firepower. It's our minds, our ability to think and act together, and our willingness to never give up. They will learn that soon enough." Alien officers continued to underestimate humans. Every calculated attack was met with unexpected resistance. Every assumption they held was challenged by human cleverness. The humans' ingenuity was becoming legendary across the small pockets of space they defended. By the end of the escalation, humans had not destroyed the alien fleet. They could not. But they had proven themselves capable. They had turned apparent weakness into a strength. They had taken technology far superior to their own and used their understanding of strategy and space to create victories where none should have been possible. The aliens had underestimated humans, and the consequences were clear. Their pride was shaken, their morale fractured, and their understanding of the galaxy challenged. Humans were no longer simple, weak creatures to dismiss. They were clever, adaptable, and united, a species capable of turning disadvantage into triumph. Commander Elias and his team looked at the stars, knowing that this was only the beginning. Every engagement taught them more, and every success strengthened their resolve. The humans had proven that intelligence, courage, and unity could rival brute force. Far across the galaxy, the Council remained unaware of the full scale of the conflict. Most leaders still doubted Valera's warning. Yet in the outer solar system, humans were quietly reshaping expectations. The small species that many had dismissed had proven that size, strength, and technology were not the only measures of power. And as the humans prepared for the next phase of defense, one truth became clear. The galaxy had underestimated them. In the silence of space, amidst the flickering lights of distant stars and shattered alien drones, humans continued to innovate, survive, and rise. They were not just defending themselves, they were proving a lesson that no one would forget. Ingenuity, courage, and unity could change the The outer colonies were no longer merely defending themselves. They were preparing for a counteroffensive. Human ingenuity had turned survival into strategy. Every lesson learned from previous skirmishes was applied with precision. Every resource repurposed for maximum effect. The alien fleet, once confident and organized, now approached with caution, uncertain of what awaited them. Commander Elias Noor stood on the command deck of the Helios research station. His gaze moved across a holographic map of the outer solar system. Red markers indicated alien positions, while green and blue represented human craft, drones, and automated systems. "We've held them off," he said quietly. "But now it's time to push back. We must make them realize that humans cannot be defeated by force alone." Lieutenant Zara Min nodded. "Our advantage is adaptability. Every time they act predictably, we can turn it against them. It's not about power. It's about thinking faster, smarter, and together." In orbit around Saturn, the first coordinated human attack began. Unlike previous engagements, this was not purely defensive. Humans used their knowledge of alien tactics combined with improvised technology to launch a strike designed to disrupt, confuse, and demonstrate capability. Cargo ships, once meant for supply, were converted into decoy formations, drawing alien fire into empty space. Meanwhile, small attack craft slipped through gaps in alien formations, delivering targeted strikes on communication satellites and sensor arrays. The aliens were unprepared. Their confidence had been shattered by earlier skirmishes, but now their surprise grew into shock. Every move they had assumed would succeed failed. Sensors were disrupted. Formations were broken. Commands were delayed as confusion spread through their ranks. "This is impossible," muttered an alien admiral, his voice trembling. "They anticipate every strike. They use our own actions against us." Far above Mars, Dr. Mirahan oversaw a critical operation. Her team had devised a system that allowed them to predict alien movements in real time by combining sensor data, past behavior, and human intuition. "We can create openings," she explained. "We can force them to make mistakes and then capitalize on them. Timing is everything." Indeed, timing became humanity's greatest weapon. Attack craft moved in perfect synchronization with automated drones, using reflections, decoys, and unexpected trajectories. Alien ships fired powerful energy beams only to find their targets had vanished or were illusions. Every strike humans took was calculated, every move anticipated, and every resource optimized. Meanwhile, Valera, observing from Talvori, allowed herself a small smile. "They are proving themselves," she murmured. "Not through destruction, but through thought, unity, and ingenuity. This is what I warned the Council about." The aliens, sensing that the tide was turning, attempted a massive assault on the human main station near Jupiter. Hundreds of ships advanced in coordinated patterns, confident that their combined firepower could obliterate any resistance. Commander Elias remained calm. "Let them come," he said. "They think we are weak. They think they can crush us. They will learn differently." The humans had prepared a trap. Using the moons of Jupiter as cover, they created a network of automated drones and decoy formations. When the alien fleet entered the trap zone, their sensors were overwhelmed with false readings. Weapons misfired, targeting empty space or reflections of human craft. Alien ships collided with debris they had failed to notice. Panic spread through the alien ranks as confusion turned to fear. Human craft, small and nimble, struck with precision. They disabled critical systems on several alien vessels, forcing them to retreat. The attack was not about destruction, but control, demonstrating to the invaders that humans could think faster and act smarter than technology alone could predict. On one isolated asteroid colony, a young engineer named Rena Kaur observed the chaos through her instruments. "They are using our own strength against us," she whispered in awe. "Every system, every formation, every move, they adapt instantly. It's incredible." Indeed, the alien fleet had begun to break apart. Some ships attempted to flee, while others argued among their commanders about strategy. Pride and arrogance, once their greatest strengths, now became weaknesses. The humans had forced them to confront unpredictability and think in ways they were unprepared for. The turning point came when humans executed a maneuver that no alien had anticipated. Using a combination of gravity wells, automated decoys, and reflective satellites, they created an illusion of a massive fleet moving toward the inner colonies. The aliens, fearing total destruction, diverted their forces to defend against this phantom threat. In doing so, They exposed weaknesses in their original formation. Human craft struck these openings, disabling critical alien systems and forcing a retreat. "This is a disaster," one alien officer admitted. "Our plans are failing. They are clever." For humans, the victory was not about celebration. It was about understanding, learning, and preparing for the next challenge. Commander Elias addressed his team, pride evident in his voice. "We've shown them that we cannot be crushed by firepower alone. But this is only the beginning. We must continue to think, to adapt, and to unite. That is how humans survive and thrive." Across the colonies, engineers, pilots, and scientists worked together as never before. Ideas flowed freely. Innovations were tested immediately, and lessons from every engagement were applied in real time. Humanity's greatest strength, its adaptability, was being displayed in full force. Valeria communicated secretly with alien officers who had begun to question their council's arrogance. "Do you see now?" she asked. "Humans are not weak. They are not simple. They adapt, they learn, and they work together. Your leaders dismissed the warning, and now you face the consequences. You may still survive, but only if you accept what you have underestimated." Some alien officers began to whisper among themselves, realizing that human ingenuity was not just a tool of survival, but a force that could redefine the balance of power in the galaxy. Their pride had blinded them, and now they were paying the price. Meanwhile, humans continued to innovate. Dr. Mirahan proposed using communication signals to manipulate alien sensors further. Engineers modified old satellites to act as interference hubs, and small craft were sent on missions designed not to destroy but to confuse and mislead. Every engagement taught humans something new, and every success reinforced the lesson that intelligence, creativity, and unity were more powerful than raw strength alone. In the council chamber far away, some leaders began to reconsider their previous dismissal of Valera's warning. The reports trickling in were incomplete but disturbing. A species thought weak had outmaneuvered fleets, outsmarted tactics, and survived engagements that should have been fatal. Pride was giving way to concern, and concern to fear. Back in human space, the final engagement of this turning phase began near the asteroid belt beyond Mars. The alien fleet, desperate to regain control, sent their strongest ships to destroy human defenses. But humans had prepared for this. Using a combination of decoy formations, precise timing, and innovative tactics, they lured the aliens into zones where collisions, sensor failures, and misfires caused chaos. By the end of the battle, humans had not only survived, but had demonstrated their capability to turn the tide against a superior force. Alien casualties were significant, and their fleet's organization was disrupted. More importantly, the aliens had learned a critical lesson. Humans could not be predicted, defeated easily, or underestimated. Commander Elias watched the aftermath from the Helios station. "We've done what many thought impossible," he said. "We've shown them that humans are not weak. We fight with our minds, our unity, and our courage. That is our strength." Lieutenant Min smiled. "And they'll remember it. Every calculation they made, every assumption, they were all wrong. We've changed the game." Valera, observing from Talvori, allowed herself a rare moment of satisfaction. "Finally," she whispered. "They see it now. Humans are not to be underestimated. Perhaps the Council will finally understand before it's too late." The humans, small but united, clever but resilient, had turned the tide. They were no longer merely surviving. They were asserting themselves. The alien fleets, once confident, now approached cautiously, knowing that every engagement was a test they could not predict or control. In the silence of space, stars twinkled as though acknowledging the human triumph. Not through brute force, not through weapons of mass destruction, but through intelligence, creativity, and unity, humans had proven that they were a force to be reckoned with. The tide had turned. The battle was far from over, but humanity had shown the galaxy that underestimating them was a mistake no one could afford to make. And somewhere in the vast council chambers, Valera prepared to argue once more. The humans were not only survivors, they were pioneers, innovators, and a species whose potential would shape the stars. The aliens would soon learn that human ingenuity, combined with courage and cooperation, was a force that could not be crushed by technology or pride alone. The galaxy had underestimated humanity. That mistake was about to become legendary. The galaxy was quiet for a time. The great fleets that once filled the stars with destruction now drifted in scattered groups, their confidence broken. Rumors spread quickly across alien networks. Stories of human victories, once dismissed as luck or lies, now became undeniable truth. On Talvori, the Grand Council gathered once more. The vast chamber glowed with the light of floating data orbs. The leaders of many powerful species were present, their faces grim. At the center stood Valira, calm but firm. She had warned them long ago. "I told you what they were," she said quietly. "You called them primitive. You called them emotional. But they are more than that. Humans adapt faster than any of us. They grow stronger with every failure. You ignored the warning, and now your worlds burn for it." Silence filled the chamber. The once proud council members now looked uneasy. Their fleets had suffered heavy losses. Their colonies were failing, and human influence was spreading faster than anyone expected. Across human space, the mood was very different. There was no celebration, only unity and focus. Commander Elias Noor stood before a massive screen showing the growing human network, new alliances, rebuilt colonies, and fleets moving with purpose. "We have won battles," Elias said to his officers, "but the war for our survival continues. The Council may not attack again soon, but they will never forget what happened. We must show them that humanity seeks peace but will never be threatened again." Lieutenant Zaramin nodded. "They underestimated us once. They won't make that mistake again. But they will watch us now, with fear." Dr. Mira Han entered the room carrying reports from newly discovered regions. "Our scientists have found remnants of old alien technology," she said. "We can learn from it. Not to copy, but to improve. To make something that's truly ours." Elias smiled slightly. "That's what makes us human. We learn, we build, and we move forward. Even after war, we find a way to create." Weeks later, a small alien envoy requested a meeting with the humans. They came not with threats, but with questions. The leader of the envoy, a tall being with silver skin and bright eyes, spoke carefully. "Your people," he said, "have done what no other has achieved. You stood against the united power of the Council and survived. Tell me what drives you. Why do you fight so fiercely?" Elias looked at him calmly. "We fight because we must. Because our home means everything to us. We don't fight to conquer. We fight to live free, to protect those we love, and to ensure our children have a future." The alien envoy lowered his head. "Perhaps that is what we have forgotten." The conversation spread through alien channels faster than any fleet. Other species began to question the Council's authority. The idea of human strength, built not from power but from spirit, began to reshape galactic thinking. Valira observed all this from her homeworld. Her message to the Council was short but powerful. You feared their weapons. You should have feared their will. Far beyond Mars, the Helios research station had become a symbol of unity. Scientists, engineers, and explorers worked together to create new technologies that could defend and sustain humanity for generations. Spacecraft of human design now traveled farther than ever, exploring systems once thought unreachable. One morning, Dr. Mira Han stood on the observation deck, watching as the new starship Aurora prepared for launch. It was humanity's first interstellar ship capable of reaching distant stars. "We are no longer survivors," she said softly. "We are explorers again." Commander Elias joined her. "And this time the galaxy will meet us as equals." The Aurora's engines came to life, glowing like twin suns. The crew aboard was made up of humans from every colony, pilots, scientists, and engineers, united by a single dream: to reach beyond known space. As the ship launched, cheers erupted across the communication channels. For the first time in generations, humanity looked forward not with fear, but with hope. Meanwhile, the Alien Council fractured. Some members wanted peace with humans, seeing them as potential allies. Others demanded new strategies to regain lost power. But the fear in their eyes was clear. They had learned that every move against humans carried risk, because humans would adapt, learn, and strike back smarter each time. Valira was invited once again to speak before the remaining leaders. She stood before them with quiet authority. "You still think in numbers and power," she said. "Humans think in possibilities. They turn defeat into invention. Every time you destroy something they build, they make it better. You can't fight a species like that forever." An elder counselor asked bitterly, "So what do you suggest, Valira?" "That we kneel before them." She shook her head. "No, you should stand beside them. They are not conquerors, they are creators. But if you force them again, they will defend themselves, and this time you will not recover." Her words carried through the chamber like a quiet storm. For the first time, the council voted not for war, but for peace. Years passed. Human colonies thrived, spreading across the stars. Once isolated worlds were connected by trade, science, and shared knowledge. The scars of war remained, but they became reminders of how far humanity had come. On a quiet evening, Elias visited the memorial garden on Luna Base. Names of those who had fallen in the Great Defense were carved into a glass wall that reflected the Earth's light. He stood silently, remembering them. Zara Min joined him, holding 2 cups of tea. "Do you ever wonder," she asked softly, "if they'll try again?" Elias smiled faintly. "Maybe, but next time they'll think before acting, because now they know who we are." Zara nodded. "Humans." He turned toward her. "Yes, imperfect, emotional, creative humans. The species they said would never last. And yet here we stand." They looked up at the stars together. Each light represented a new beginning, a new step forward. Humanity had not just survived, it had earned respect in a galaxy that once mocked it. In another corner of the galaxy, Valera stood before a vast window overlooking her world. Her assistant approached. "Ambassador, the humans have extended an invitation. They want to open a joint research center here on Telvori." Valera smiled. "Then the future begins today. Let it be a place where we learn from each other, not where we repeat old mistakes." As she gazed at the distant stars, she thought of the first day she had spoken the warning that no one believed. Now those words had become history. Back in human space, the Aurora sent its first transmission from beyond the known systems. The message was simple, but it carried the full spirit of humanity. "We have reached a new world. It is peaceful, beautiful, and full of light." Humanity continues to move forward, not as conquerors, but as explorers. Wherever we go, we carry the memory of Earth and the lesson of unity. To any who listen, we come in peace. The message echoed across the stars. Even the council worlds received it. The tone was calm, proud, and without threat, and for the first time in centuries, the galaxy listened not to weapons, but to words. Elias watched the broadcast from the Helios station. Around him, young officers worked with quiet determination. "They ignored the warning once," he said softly. "Now they will never forget," Zara Min smiled. "Because they saw what humans can do," Dr. Mira Han added, "and what humans can become." Elias looked out into the endless dark of space. "We were tested. We suffered. But we rose higher than anyone expected. The stars belong to all, but we earned our place among them." Humanity had changed the galaxy, not through destruction, but through resilience and courage. They had shown that strength was not in power, but in unity. Every ship, every scientist, every soldier had played a part in proving the truth. Humans were not a mistake in the universe. They were its greatest story of perseverance. And across the stars, where once there was fear, now there was respect. The words of Valera, spoken so long ago, echoed through the halls of every world. They ignored the Council's warning about humans, and their worlds burned. But from the ashes, something new was born: understanding. As the Aurora sailed into the unknown, carrying humanity's light to distant stars, one truth remained clear: humans would always rise.